All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a good time here. Today, our team has tackled the dubious honor of trying to disentangle Millennium-speak and teach millennials a better way and to think more carefully about the language of business. The subtitle of this is instead of Lit 101, Totes Lit 101. Yeah, that went over real well, right? Excellent. Let's do another check here. So after this is over, after lunch, let's go Netflix and chill.
Chill? I know the word chill.
No, you don't. No, you don't. There was a couple of uncomfortable laughs here, and the rest are like, what are they doing? And so the basic job here is we're going to help you when it comes to millennial-speak be able to avoid being deemed a floxenosinaya pillification, deemed worthless at speaking millennial-speak here. So we start off with this. We'll have the presentation posted for you. Where do you learn about your customers? Go observe them in the field, right? Ethnographic research. Where's a very rich case for ethnographic research on millennials? YouTube. So we've gone off, and there's a few here. We're not, unfortunately, going to be able to show them all. We'll start off here and kind of give you a feel for millennials in the workplace.
Please stop talking to me. I haven't had Starbucks yet. Do you think I'll get promoted this month? I'm not a morning person.
I think I'm gonna text my boss and tell him I quit.
Sorry, what?
Where's my promotion?
Would it kill my boss to say thank you? Seriously?
Courtney, here's the report you asked for.
You're welcome.
Hold on, my mom's texting me.
Of course I'm qualified. I was class president. What do you mean Wikipedia isn't a reliable source? You want me to go to the post office? Wouldn't it be faster if I just emailed it?
Where's my promotion?
They should make an app for that. I am such a good multitasker. I think there's an app for that.
There's plenty more where that came from. Would you like that in 4 or 5 pages? Would Helvetica font be there? Be appropriate? Double space, single space? This would be so much easier if it was in the syllabus. You ever heard these things?
They don't read the syllabus.
They ask for it, but then they don't read it, absolutely. So with that kind of as a background here, let's start getting you introduced into the language of millennials here. So turn it over. And we've got a dictionary, courtesy of some of our children. This was procured via which channel? What do you think we use to actually talk to our children and get these definitions overnight? Texting, of course. And, we have some interesting words here to help you learn what they mean. And so with that.
So every generation has its own vocabulary, correct? Language is chaotic. Words are invented, especially today with the internet, at an amazing pace. We invent words to meet modern times. But how do we translate the social language of today's youth to email etiquette, to appropriate business language, clear writing, articulate speech? How do we become interpersonal but not too personal? There's a skill to not revealing too much and overstepping bounds in the workplace, knowing what is appropriate and what does not reflect positively. How do we develop professionally honed and written communication skills? Employers want to hire people who can communicate effectively and work well with others.
Because we just love interactivity, we're going to give you a set of exercises. Can we put that on the screen? And what we're going to ask is maybe if we could break everybody into small groups of your own choosing, a few people just to kind of move your chairs. This room isn't
If it turns out
perfectly
to
conducive
be
to it.
your project team might work, or just whoever you're sitting by.
Sure.
But we need to have at least 4 people in your group.
And using the vocabulary that you've been given, some of you may have it already committed to memory, how would you, in a social setting, how would you communicate as a millennial? And then conversely, in a more professional setting. The idea being that hopefully we can then teach our students that the two are not easily transferable, and there are times and places for how to communicate and what to communicate in different scenarios. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to work on that.
So the scenarios that we came up with a variety of scenarios for your team. And what we're hoping to do, the intention was that if you were working with your presentation team, that 2 or 3 of you would have this conversation, like the first minute of the conversation, as millennials, using the handy dictionaries that we passed out, while the other 2 or 3 members of your team would tackle the situation as professionals. And that way we can do a nice compare and contrast of what the conversation sounds like as professionals and what maybe our students might sound like, and that'll give us an idea of how far we have to sort of teach them up in order to get that professional vocabulary. So some of the scenarios that we envisioned are money issues with the client. I need to talk to you about something important. Think of which one of these spurs your imagination. I need to set up a meeting with you. A networking event, a grip and grin exchanging business cards. How would a professional handle that versus how might a millennial conversation handle that? Boundary issues, inappropriate friend requests, asking something of your subordinate or asking something of your boss, and then providing peer review where you need to give direction. So what we're asking you to do is kind of get together with a 4-some or 5-some, and then within that group, 2 of you create just about a minute-long conversation as professionals, and the other 2 or 3 of you do it as millennials. And take about, how much time do we have? About 5 minutes or so to pull that off, and then we're going to ask you to share it.
Things to consider here, okay? Things to consider. Things like, so it's not what you say, it's the way that you say it, okay? So you've got to think about not just what you're going to, how you're going to say something, it's what the content is, but the way that you're going to say it, what the body language is. How are you going to introduce it? How are you going to end it? You know, every one of these kind of scenarios, you know, should have a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. So you need to talk through, you know, how you're going to execute this conversation to get the best possible outcome for what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so just think about these kind of issues as you're working your way through these scenarios. Okay.
All right, take 5 minutes, and then we'll hear some of your outcomes. So, who wants to share their millennial conversation? Let's hear it.
Okay.
Tell us what you're talking about as millennials.
Yo, get my DM.
TLDR.
I asked about getting together tomorrow.
I can't even.
Swerve?
No chill.
Now, how would
So
you
what did that
translate
mean
that?
then? Come on.
That to the world of business language.
Good morning, Dina. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
How did your philanthropic event go last night?
Went really well. We raised a lot of good money for a good cause. Thanks for asking.
I'm glad to hear that. I was wondering if we could set up a meeting tomorrow morning around 10 to discuss the new client I'm bringing on board.
Yes, I did get your message, and actually 10:30 would work better for me. Is that okay for you?
Let me check my calendar.
Yeah.
10:30 looks free for me.
Fantastic. I'll see you then.
All right, great.
Peace out.
Well, now that's all the time we have for the sharing, but just a couple words to...
Brilliant, guys. Brilliant.
Brilliant. I will tell you there was a lot of inappropriate millennial grammar there. But if you do this in your class, the millennials will know how to
Help you
handle
out.
that. You can provide the other side of this, right? It won't be quite so awkward. Well, it is awkward. I've done a little bit of this with my students.
So we want to create young professionals who can hire, communicate effectively, and be appropriate in the business place. Thank you so much.
Actually, Beth kind of summed up as well as I possibly could. I think part of it is not knowing what they don't know, and they don't realize that the language they're using every day with their friends and among each other is not appropriate to use at a professional level, especially if they want to create that professional image that we're trying to really export out of our classrooms. So as it says right here, going to the default of texting or emailing Bad. Gen X using Millennial-speak? Bad. Doesn't
Very
work.
bad.
Very bad. Don't try it. Netflix and chill? No, it's not the next season of Daredevil coming out. It's something else. Adaptive communication, as you know, as sales professors, very, very good. So.
We got to slip now, but just want to say that you're our favorite goat squad.
Thank you, folks.
That was totes lit fast.